In a world constantly buzzing with opinions, notifications, and relentless chatter, silence has become a rare luxury, almost forgotten. But what if the moments we choose not to speak held just as much power, if not more, than the ones when we do? We rarely pause to consider the meaning of our quiet moments. What does our silence say about us? What wisdom might lie within the decision to remain still? The ancient Stoics believed that true strength isn't loud. It doesn't boast. It doesn't argue. It doesn't even need to defend itself. True strength, they taught, is measured by restraint, clarity, and control. Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, once suggested that stumbling with your feet is less harmful than stumbling with your words. Think about that. How many regrets in life come not from what we did, but from what we said too quickly, too emotionally, or too loudly? Stoicism doesn't ask us to be emotionless. It invites us to be intentional, and silence, when practiced with purpose, becomes one of the most profound tools for self-mastery. Imagine facing the storms of life with a calm mind and a steady heart. Imagine letting your silence reveal your wisdom. This is the gift of the Stoic path. Today, we'll explore 9 life-changing moments when keeping silent isn't just smart, it's powerful. As you listen, reflect on your own life. Where could silence have served you better than speech? Are you ready to hear what silence has to say? 1. When you're unfairly criticized, let silence reveal your strength. There are few things more difficult than being misunderstood or wrongly judged. When someone criticizes us unfairly, our natural instinct is to defend, explain, or lash out. But the Stoics saw these moments not as threats to our identity, but as opportunities to demonstrate our character. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If someone does wrong, it is their problem. Your only task is to respond with reason and virtue." This is the essence of Stoic silence. Not silence born from fear or passivity, but from mastery over impulse. Imagine this. You've worked tirelessly on a project, and someone takes a cheap shot, publicly undermining your efforts. You feel the sting, the rise of adrenaline, the words forming in your mind, sharp and ready to strike back. But then, you breathe, you pause, you choose not to engage. In that moment, you're not weak, you're invincible. You've denied someone the ability to control your peace. And more importantly, you've turned criticism into your teacher. Not all criticism is useful, but sometimes, even within unfairness, there's a fragment of truth. The Stoic way is to calmly sift through the noise. Take what is helpful, discard the rest. Let your actions speak where words would only inflame. By not reacting emotionally, you send a message more powerful than any argument. I am not shaken by your opinion. Silence here isn't withdrawal. It's defiance through calm. It's trusting that truth doesn't always need a defense. And over time, the silence you hold in these moments becomes your shield, your armor, your proof that your worth is not on trial. So ask yourself, when someone attacks your character, will you give them the power to shape your state of mind? Or will you let the stillness of your silence reveal the unshakable strength within you? 2. When surrounded by boasting, let your silence speak of confidence. We've all been there, stuck in conversations where egos stretch to fill every inch of the room. Someone is flaunting their wealth, their status, their victories. It's tempting to compete, to counter their story with one of your own. After all, you have your accomplishments too. Why stay silent when you could remind them, and everyone else, of what you've done? But the Stoic asks a different question. Why speak to be seen when your life already speaks for you? Boasting is often noise meant to distract from inner emptiness. True confidence, on the other hand, has no need for applause. It is still, it is rooted, it is silent. Seneca once wrote, "It is the mark of a great soul to be content with its own greatness." The Stoic doesn't measure success by how loudly it's announced, but by how quietly it is lived. So when others start to boast, and you feel the pull to enter the game, don't. Instead, observe. Smile if you must, nod in acknowledgement, but let their need to speak reveal their insecurity, while your silence confirms your stability. Because the truth is, nothing you say about yourself will ever be as powerful as the way you carry yourself. And in a room full of people trying to prove something, the one who says nothing often says the most. So next time someone tries to impress you with their accolades, try this. Listen without comparison, observe without judgment, and walk away with the quiet pride of someone who has nothing to prove. Let your silence be the space where your character breathes. 3. When anger rises, let silence become your shield. Anger is a fire that demands fuel, and words are its favorite kindling. It rises fast, blinding us, tempting us to speak before we think. In these moments, silence isn't just a virtue, it's protection. The Stoics didn't pretend anger wasn't real. They simply refused to let it rule them. Marcus Aurelius asked, "What good is it to be angry at someone? Does it make them change? Does it improve you?" His answer, of course, was no. Imagine someone cuts you off in traffic, or a colleague blames you for a mistake that wasn't yours. Your pulse quickens. The urge to lash out feels justified. But Stoicism urges you to step into the gap between impulse and response. That gap is silence, and that silence is power, because silence gives you space to choose. Not just how to react, but who you want to be. Do you want to be someone who mirrors chaos, or someone who radiates control? There's a reason great leaders pause before speaking. It's not because they don't feel anger, it's because they've mastered it. Their silence becomes a form of presence, stronger than shouting, deeper than quick replies. And if you're thinking, "But silence feels weak when I'm angry," remember this. Reacting in rage is easy. Resisting it, that's strength. So the next time anger tries to pull you under, try silence. Breathe. Let the moment pass. When the dust settles, you'll be glad you didn't say what anger wanted you to say. Because no one ever regrets the words they didn't shout. Let silence be the space where wisdom returns, and where your dignity remains untouched. 4. When false rumors spread, let silence protect your truth. There's something uniquely painful about hearing your name twisted in someone else's mouth. When lies are whispered behind your back or assumptions are passed as truth, it's easy to feel cornered. You want to speak up, set the record straight, defend your name. But the Stoic does not rush to defend what doesn't need defending, because truth, when lived with integrity, defends itself. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who wronged you." That means you do not need to lower yourself to the level of those who spread rumors. You don't need to explain your character to people committed to misunderstanding it. Silence here is not surrender, it's sovereignty. It is choosing peace over performance. Imagine a teacher falsely accused by whispers in a town where gossip spreads like wildfire. Instead of trying to convince every neighbor, she remains rooted in her daily life. She continues to teach. She continues to serve. Over time, her silence doesn't weaken her, it elevates her. The noise dies down, but her integrity remains. This is the Stoic strategy. Focus only on what is within your control. Your thoughts, your actions, your virtue. Let others speak. Let them assume. Let the storm swirl if it must. Because when you live truthfully, you don't have to shout it. Your life becomes your clearest statement. Your silence becomes your reputation. So the next time your name gets caught in a lie, ask yourself, what will defending this cost me? And what might silence protect? You'll often find that your energy is better spent building than battling. And in that quiet strength, you reclaim your dignity. Not through noise, but through unwavering presence. 5. After a loss, let silence hold your grief with grace. Loss has a sound. It's the silence after the last goodbye. The quiet that follows a door that won't open again. When something or someone we cherish is taken from us, words often feel too small, too fragile, too shallow. In those moments, Stoicism doesn't ask us to hide our pain. It teaches us to sit with it, without judgment, without resistance, because grief, like all emotions, is not the enemy. Avoiding it is. Seneca wrote, "The whole future lies in uncertainty. Live immediately." That's not a call to escape reality, but to embrace the now, even when the now is filled with sorrow. Think of someone who has lost a loved one, a dream, or a purpose. The world may try to rush them through their pain, urging them to move on, stay busy, talk it out. But the Stoic way is quieter. It says, sit, feel, be still. In silence, healing begins. Not because silence solves anything, but because it creates space for reflection. It removes the pressure to explain or justify your emotions. It allows grief to unfold on its own timeline, in its own language. C.S. Lewis once wrote, "The pain now is part of the joy then." That's a Stoic truth. Grief is love's echo. And if we listen closely, that echo can teach us something profound about the beauty of impermanence. So when you find yourself in the shadow of loss, don't rush to fill the silence. Let it hold you. Let it teach you. Let it soften you without breaking you. Because sometimes the deepest wisdom doesn't come from what we say, but from what we allow ourselves to feel in the sacred quiet that follows goodbye. 6. When faced with ignorance, let silence show your wisdom. Few things test our patience more than ignorance dressed as certainty. When someone speaks loudly with no understanding, when they interrupt, assume, or argue without insight, it's easy to feel the urge to correct them, to prove them wrong, to win the debate. But the Stoic understands. Not every battle is worth fighting, and not every correction is received with grace. Epictetus taught, it is impossible to learn that which one thinks they already know. If someone is unwilling to listen, your words are not wisdom. They're noise. Silence, then, becomes the wiser choice. Imagine you're in a discussion, and someone casually spreads misinformation with confidence. You know the truth. You have the facts. But instead of launching into correction, you pause. You weigh the moment. You ask, is this worth my peace? Will this change anything? If the answer is no, you stay silent. Not because you lack knowledge, but because you possess self-mastery. Think of Galileo. When the world condemned his discoveries, he didn't fight with fury. He endured. He waited, and history proved him right. His silence was not surrender. It was trust in truth's endurance. There's dignity in knowing when to speak and when to step back. Not every ignorant comment deserves your energy. Not every false idea requires your attention. The mind that is anchored doesn't react to every wave. So next time you come face to face with loud ignorance, don't rush to speak. Observe. Choose. And if your words would fall on deaf ears, let your silence remind you. Your peace is more valuable than their approval, because in the end, those who are truly wise don't always speak the most. They simply know when not to. 7. When entangled in rumors, let silence preserve your integrity. Rumors are shadows, distorted reflections of the truth. They twist, stretch, and spread through whispers, often growing into things that bear little resemblance to reality. And when you become the target, it can feel suffocating. You want to clarify, defend, and demand that the truth be heard. But the Stoic knows, your reputation is built not through argument, but through action. Not through words, but through consistency. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Don't waste time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." In the face of rumors, this wisdom is your compass. Imagine a person who has given years of quiet service to their community. One day, their intentions are questioned. A few begin to talk, speculate, assume, but instead of reacting, the person keeps working, keeps showing up, keeps living with integrity. Time, not defense, becomes their advocate. You see, rumors crave reaction. They thrive on attention. But when you meet them with silence, dignified, focused, unwavering silence, you starve them. You remove the fuel. You shift the story from what's being said to how you are choosing to live. And slowly, those watching begin to see the truth, not because you shouted it, but because you lived it. So when others talk behind your back, let them. While they invest in gossip, you invest in character. While they speak of you, you refine who you are. Remember, your silence isn't weakness. It's evidence of a deeper strength, a quiet confidence that truth doesn't require your voice to survive. Let your actions clarify what words cannot. Let your life become the quiet answer to every loud assumption. 8. When confronted with injustice, let silence forge your strength. Injustice wounds. It offends our sense of right. And when we are its target, or even when we witness it from afar, our instinct is to shout, to resist, to push back with fury. But the Stoic response is not rage, it is resolve. Epictetus once said, "Bear and forbear." In just 4 words, he captured a lifetime of discipline: endure what you must, and restrain what you can. This doesn't mean accepting injustice. It means choosing a response that aligns with your higher self, not your wounded pride. It means resisting the pull to retaliate, and instead becoming a force for something deeper: understanding, patience, and long-term change. Think of Nelson Mandela, imprisoned for 27 years, humiliated, separated from his people. When released, he did not call for vengeance. He called for unity. He did not raise his voice in blame. He used it to build bridges. His silence during years of suffering wasn't weakness. It was preparation. And when he finally spoke, the world listened. That is Stoic strength. Not loud, not reactive, but deeply rooted in purpose. So when you face injustice, when you're spoken over, passed up, or treated unfairly, pause. Let your silence become your sharpening stone. Not to dull your voice, but to prepare it for when it matters most. Because you don't fight every injustice by speaking. Sometimes you fight by becoming the calm in chaos, the strength in the storm, the example others remember when they themselves are tested. Let your silence in the face of injustice be your training ground, not for inaction, but for principled, powerful, purposeful action. 9. When insulted, let silence affirm your self-mastery. An insult is an invitation to defend, to argue, to stoop to someone else's level. It pokes at your pride, hoping you'll react, hoping you'll lose your footing. But the Stoic declines that invitation. Epictetus once taught, if someone provokes you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. That simple line carries a powerful truth. No one can control your response unless you hand them the reins. To be insulted is one thing. To become insulted, that's a choice. Imagine someone mocks you. They question your intelligence, your intentions, your worth. The room waits for your reaction. But instead of anger, instead of snark, instead of proving anything, you say nothing. Not because you don't have a response, but because you don't need to. That silence becomes your statement. It says, your words don't define me. My peace does. Mahatma Gandhi, often ridiculed and attacked, rarely defended himself with words. His strength lay in quiet endurance. His power came not from speaking, but from standing firm in who he was. Over time, that silence didn't diminish his message. It amplified it. When you stay silent in the face of insults, you reclaim your authority. You show that your self-worth isn't tethered to others' approval or criticism. You remind the world, and yourself, that you are not reactive. You are intentional, and that is the rarest kind of power. So the next time someone hurls an insult your way, ask yourself, do they deserve a reaction, or do I deserve my peace? Let your silence be the mark of your maturity. Let it be the proof that your character speaks louder than your ego ever could. Final reflection: when silence becomes strength. In a world addicted to noise, where everyone rushes to speak, to prove, to react, choosing silence is not the absence of action. It's the highest form of self-command. Each of the moments we've explored, criticism, boasting, anger, rumors, grief, ignorance, injustice, and insult, are tests, not of your voice, but of your presence. They ask you one quiet question: will you be ruled by reaction, or will you rise in restraint? Stoicism doesn't teach us to mute ourselves forever. It teaches us to speak only when speaking is wise, and to be silent, not out of fear but out of strength, because the one who can sit in stillness while the world pulls at them, the one who can hear lies, anger, arrogance, and injustice, and still remain grounded, that person is unshakable. So when the next challenge comes, and it will, pause, breathe. Remember, your silence is not empty. It's full of discipline, depth, and direction. Let it protect your peace. Let it sharpen your purpose. Let it become your voice when words would only weaken your truth. And above all, let it remind you, by moment, that you are not here to react to life. You are here to master it. If you found wisdom in this message, don't keep it to yourself. Share it. Live it. And if you're ready to keep walking the path of inner power and ancient truth, subscribe for more Stoic reflections that will challenge and elevate you. Till next time, stay grounded, stay clear, and remember, sometimes the strongest thing you can say is nothing at all.